Georgie the Elf's Big Game, written by Talya Bruck and illustrated by Erin Botha.
Georgie giggled to himself, feeling very excited, as he knew Elvis would never find him, although secretly he hoped he would, as he loved the feeling of being found. That's a very good quote. Sums up the whole book.
I think the hook of the book is this idea of, they all start playing this game and they're all really excited, and then the game goes on and everybody maybe starts to get a little bit bored. They certainly start to get quite hungry and they stop looking. That for me is the hook of the book.
Feeling forgotten. It's very interesting to present that topic with the hide and seek game, because that's basically what it's all about. The intention in this game is to hide and not to be found. But of course you want to be found. Yeah, what do you really want? What's your real intention?
We can look at this book and it has two different sort of levels that we can think about.
Yeah.
So at one level it is about a game of hide and seek in which Georgie isn't found and he feels forgotten.
Yeah.
And how that feels, why that might have happened, how that might resolve itself, how it can be survived. But actually we can look deeper, on a deeper level as well, around hide and seek being a metaphor for the tension between wanting to hide and wanting to be found.
And also the friends who are looking for little Georgie and in the end forget about him, and Georgie's side being forgotten. As with everything in life, it has two sides, and I like how the story unfolds and explains this. And I think we should consider this in real life or in our situations as well, that there are always two sides and you can never know the other side unless you talk to the parties involved. And even then, you don't totally know their intentions.
And I think in this story, what sort of Talya is showing us is that sometimes people are not intentionally forgetting us.
Yeah.
What happens here is the other elves get distracted by essentially what are their own issues, their own problems. They're hungry, they may be a bit bored with the game, they're getting caught up in their own problems, and I think that's sometimes what is happening, isn't it?
Yeah.
We can feel forgotten, but actually people are just busy and they're caught up with their own problems. Their sort of forgetting of us is more accidental.
When I don't reply instantly to a message, for example, it's never meant, I'm lucky with my friends, they all understand that. If I don't sometimes it takes quite a while until I respond, but they know I would never ghost them and I wouldn't forget about them. They just know that I'm really busy and I always apologize once I get to reply. It's also important when you notice, I forgot about someone, to tell them what happened.
Yeah, and that's sort of doing the repair. And again, without wanting to give too much away, in the end, Georgie finds out that everybody was worried about him.
Yeah.
But, they did care and they did say that they were sorry. Even though in itself it's a simple story, there's a lot of depth to it as well.
Mm-hmm.
I was struck by how Elvis sort of makes an assumption that somebody else must have found Georgie. Somebody else will have done that. It's this sort of idea of social loafing. I don't need to worry.
Yeah, that's true. There are so many nuances and so many layers to situations, and I always find that very interesting. Am I forgetting someone now? How do they feel? Of course, you don't have to people pleasing, so that's another part of the story as well. Mm-hmm. Of course, you can't put your attention on every person that you know at the same level. You always have to think of the level, what's really needed or the attention you should give, because there's of course also people who want a lot of attention, but it doesn't really help them. And it doesn't really help yourself to give them the attention. It's not really what they need, but it's what they demand. But it's just their ego. That happens as well. So to distinguish those different situations is not always that easy, but I think it involves to really see the other person. So if you really see the other person as they are, it's easier for you to decide how much attention should I bring into this relationship.
It's complex, and I think one of the points that you made earlier, which is a really good point, yeah, is that Georgie didn't want to be found as well. A part of him didn't want to be found.
Yeah.
And a part of him absolutely wanted to be found,
Yeah.
was waiting to be found. He was hard to find.
Yes, because he was very good at hiding.
Yeah,
he was one of the
very
best.
good at what that is in terms of a metaphor for, who we are and maybe how we hide ourselves. And potentially, it's like, to give it even sort of more sort of depth, that perhaps sort of denying our own needs, like, yeah, well, it's okay, you don't need to find me, I'm fine. When actually, we're not. We are looking to be found.
So much subtlety, involved in all of this. If you are seen and found, people may judge you.
Yeah, that's the fear, I guess. The tension between those two parts.
Yeah.
The part that wants to hide and the part that wants to be found.
Yeah.
So the part that wants to hide, that hiding feels safe.
Yeah.
Whereas if we put ourselves out there and allow ourselves to be found, we're taking a risk.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes,
rejection. It comes back to things we've been discussing recently around, difference and ideas of masking. Yeah, that's exactly what it is, isn't it? Masking is a form of hiding. Psychoanalyst Donald Winnicott, I think his name was, who said it's a joy to be hidden and a disaster not to be found.
That explains it all, or that sums it up perfectly, doesn't it? Also, the quote that we both agree on, that was our favorite quote from the book. Yes, and that's the battle we have inside ourselves. We are basically all in the same boat. We all have problems, troubles, and those battles inside ourselves. If you understand this, that everyone is like this, to me there is no other conclusion than to be more understanding.
And I suppose that element of personal responsibility, for some people they can be very hard on themselves.
Yes.
Relationship is reciprocal, isn't it? And
yes.
Yeah, I wouldn't want you to be too hard on yourself. My understanding so often of that desire to stay hidden is because it feels unsafe. People make those decisions because of previous experience. As you said before, it takes a lot of courage to actually be seen. So it's also a process of finding people who you trust enough to allow yourself to be seen in friendships, good relationships. That's what we do. We start to allow ourselves to be seen. And I think that's also true in therapy.
Yes.
People come to therapy and they engage in a process of allowing themselves to be found.
Yes.
And I suppose that's whether you're a child playing hide and seek or an adult, talking about your innermost fears.
Yeah, that's true. Another thought I had, the reason why I'm so critical with myself is that I don't want to make the same mistakes towards others, like the behaviors of people who hurt me. You see, I do not want to put that on others. I always want to question myself to make sure that I'm not doing this.
What you're saying is you don't want to be a victim, yeah?
Yes, that as well.
You want to sort of take a position that what I would say is, I'm okay, you're okay.
Yeah.
It's not just about other people treating me badly or bullying me. It's not like they're all okay and you're not okay.
Yeah.
You're saying, I'm okay, you're okay. We both have a responsibility. I absolutely admire and respect that. But I do know that some people are incredibly hard on themselves.
Yeah.
And also, for me, it's really important that people are compassionate towards themselves and others. I mean, I think we have to begin there, really.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree. That's what I see a lot of times. If others make mistakes, I'm okay with that. But if I make a mistake, that's really, really bad. Why? I'm just human, and I'm learning a lot of things. So it should be okay to make mistakes and not to, put yourself down for them, because it's normal.
And it's a bit like the story. Yeah, there's a tension between these things. There's a tension between sort of responsibility for ourselves and responsibility for the other. We need to be able to think about all of those things, not just one or the other.
Yeah.
And it's not easy.
No.
Every situation needs to be thought about carefully.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, so that's also why I think those kids' books are so important. That talking about the topic is so important. Sharing our experiences. Because of the internet, we now, of course, it has some, negative sides, but it also has a lot of positive sides, because you can have a broader audience to reach out to with those topics and with those kids' books. That's why I like to promote them and see how they help on the root of it, the children, to raise them into strong adults who, have empathy, compassion, and also are very reflective, because that goes along with it.
Yeah, I think that's so important. Building their reflective capacity.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is what these books are doing.
Yeah.
And with this sort of series that Talya has, the Savannah Therapeutic Stories, she suggests questions that you can ask. And I think that's what this is about, isn't it? You've got something that on the surface seems very simple, but you need to sort of very in-depth conversations and build those reflective capacities in children, the ability for them to think about, themselves, to know their own minds, to know their own thoughts.
Yeah, and to feel their feelings, to be allowed to feel their feelings as well. Yeah. Yes, true.
Yeah.
And that's a very good, how do you say, bridge to our next part, right? Questions and confessions.
Have you ever been forgotten? What happened and how did you feel?
I don't think I've ever felt truly forgotten. I felt ignored. I felt not seen. So I guess that's the same thing. And
really what's happened with Georgie is he has been sort of accidentally forgotten. But his fears are that, he's not important, that the others don't care. His worst fears are the fears that we have.
Yeah.
And sometimes, actually, those fears seem to be reasonable.
Yes, that is very true. I really have problems with when I can't have closure on a situation, because I can't talk about it. If someone comes and says, leave me alone, I do not want to talk to you or anything, that's fine. I mean, thank you, because I can move on now. But if you don't know, and if it's in German we say schwammig, spongy.
Okay.
I mean spongy, as in no clear boundaries, borders or something. For me that's very difficult, because I have a lot of problems forgetting people, as in intentionally forgetting someone. I have a lot of problems with it. I'm very attached. Yeah, I don't want to say what happened, but it made me feel hurt.
Not surprising that you felt hurt. And, I guess many people don't like confrontation.
If they know exactly that it hurts you, I don't like that. So, yeah. But I'm a creative and the poet needs the pain. So I'm using this in the way I can enjoy this as a creativity.
And just as an aside, Winnicott goes on to talk about actually how creativity, he thinks, is again to do with this tension between wanting to hide and wanting to be seen.
Yes.
Sort of art is a space within which you can do that.
Yeah. But I also have a quote on that. I will always remember that. Creativity takes courage.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah.
See? There you go. Yeah. Well, all tying up.
So what about you? Have you ever felt forgotten? What happened, if you want to talk about it, and how did you feel? How did it make you feel?
Yeah, I think I've had many experiences of feeling forgotten,
Hmm.
and some have turned out in a similar way to they did with Georgie. Turns out that people were just busy. But I think also there's something about an autistic experience around relationship, which
Mm-hmm.
I think perhaps plays into some of this. Some sort of thought around the idea that people are simply less invested in relationships with people that are autistic than they are in relationships with people who are not autistic.
Mm.
For me personally, because we've talked about how, we both might be quite intense, people tend to be quite important to me. I don't forget them. As a rule, if I enter into a friendship with somebody, they're often frequently in my mind. And I think for much of my life, I've sort of thought that that would be reciprocated. And I think what I've realized is actually that for other people, there isn't the same investment there. They might be important to me, but I am not necessarily that important to them.
Yeah.
I'm more on the sidelines. And
Mm.
actually, I am quite easily forgotten.
Mm.
And I do think that's a genuine experience. I know it's sort of a bit of mind reading, but actually, I do think that's what's happening.
Yeah.
But, very much that sense of, yeah, well, it's if you're there, okay, but if you're not there,
Yeah.
you know, I think
Yeah.
it's that lack of investment. It has just made a lot of sense to me. I don't think there's any particular dislike thoughts. I just
Yeah.
think, yeah, they're just not that bothered.
Yeah, isn't it this feeling of you want to feel seen? And when you are seen, they see your value, your magic, your connection. Isn't this what you're kind of looking for when you want to have that how do you say, I have problems with that word.
Reciprocity,
I
yeah.
just can't say it. Yes, when you have that wish for a relationship or for a friendship that's like that, isn't it? The basic thing you want to get from another person, then.
Wanting to be seen. Yeah.
Yeah, as you are, as in, with your creativity, your ideas, your mind, your thoughts, your intensity, even.
I think we've already talked about this a little bit as well, but it's the idea of too much and not enough. That sense of it can be quite intense, but also, it's not enough. So autistic people are generally experienced as being quite socially awkward. Certainly, I know that's, the case for me. You put me in a room with people and expect me to do small talk. I'm not going to be able to do that.
I feel
Yeah,
that, yes.
I can do this. I can talk about big themes in little
Hmm.
books.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I call it finding your tribe. I have some people that I would call my tribe. We don't know each other for that long, but we have like so much in common, isn't it? And it's to me, it's absolutely no wonder that we're doing this project together and that it actually works.
Absolutely.
It's really
Absolutely.
cool. So you have certain people in your life, which aren't a lot, that you could call your tribe, because it just there's some connection that is deeper than the normal connections to other friends that are friends as well, but it never goes that deep.
Yeah, I agree. There's a difference, isn't there, between a more casual friendship, in some cases acquaintances, something, as you said, that goes deeper.
Yeah. Another very interesting topic. And they're all like intertwined, aren't they?
They are. Yeah, it's true. Each book really is impacted by another, isn't it? It's all in there somewhere. All those
Yeah.
different feelings, like you said, all of these commonalities, the things that
Yeah.
connect people.
Yeah. All very important as well, especially when you want to work on that sounds so dull, making the world a better place, but I think this is where we start with topics that seem so simple, but they go so deep. Kids'
Yeah.
books.
Yeah, I mean, sitting down and sort of reading Talya's book, which is obviously a very simple story, I'm struck just time and time again by how much you can find in those stories.
Yeah.
This one here,
There we can see him
Georgie
giggle.
giggling, Soupy the mouse there smiling away.